Welcome to And I Like Large Parties. Join me as I chat with amazing women business owners in the events industry, some that I've worked with and some that I can't wait to work with. We'll be sipping cocktails while discussing their passions, hurdles, and accomplishments. You're going to love it. Thanks for listening. So I'm sitting down today with Jennifer Syl of Jennifer Syl Photography. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Anne?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. We were at Loch Nairn, right?
Yes.
There was a wedding expo.
Exactly.
And a former student of mine was the event coordinator. And Jennifer and I, we both had our tables next to one another. We just kind of hit it off, started following each other, just kind of gotten close that way.
Yeah. It's been great.
It has. I'd like to start by allowing you to let listeners know how they can contact you. What's the best way? So give us your social media handles, your website, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to be here. Jennifer Syl Photo, and Syl is S-Y-L. It's short for Sylvia, actually. So Jennifer Syl Photo is my handle on all social media. And then my website is jennifersylphoto.com. Just very simple, same thing all around. So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook, you name it.
Okay. Nice and easy.
Yeah.
So today we are drinking dirty martinis. This is my first time having a dirty martini.
Do you like it?
I do like it.
Good.
I do. I did not know this until Jennifer arrived today, but Jennifer used to be a bartender.
Yes.
So Jen actually made the martinis for us today, which was pretty cool to watch her in action. So thank you for the drink.
Absolutely. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So I like to allow my guests at the beginning to think about, because I'm going to ask you this question at the end of the podcast. Think about a drink, since this is conversations and cocktails, that you feel embodies who you are, your brand, your business, just your whole vibe, your aesthetic. Okay. It can be a mocktail. It does not have to be alcoholic, and it can be as elaborate or as broad as you'd like. So just think about that.
Okay.
And then we will come back to that question at the end of the interview.
Okay.
All right. So let's get started by you telling us, how did you wind up getting into the photography business?
Oh, man. I always joke and say photography is like that off and on love relationship you have. And like, we just needed to like find ourselves until we came back to one another. But starting out, I was in college. I was actually a ceramics major.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I did pottery. I still have a wheel in my basement. Like, I love it. And it just wasn't working out for me in college because it wasn't a passion at that point. It was more like production and over making. Mm-hmm. So I decided, let's just give photography a try. Started out in the darkroom and fell in love with it. So started that back in college. I have a bachelor's degree in fine arts and photography.
Okay.
And then after school, I was, doing preschool picture day photography, which was the hardest job ever.
Were you working for an established company at that point doing that? Okay.
Yep. Photographing like infants through, kindergarten for their photos, everything like that. And then I took a little break because I fell into a sales job. Okay. That was more lucrative, so I can afford my rent, everything like that. And then that kind of just took over full time. So I took a break from photography. And then back in 2022, I up and quit my job and just came back to it full time because I just missed being creative and having that outlet. And I love it so much. Like, I was still doing it throughout the years. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like, photography and I found each other by accident in college, fell in love with it, and then took a little break and came back.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that you photograph a lot of weddings.
Yes.
Are you primarily a wedding photographer? Like, how do you market yourself? What is, do you have a niche or you just do it all?
Currently, that is my niche. Okay. Yes, I do. I don't market to it, but I do families.
Okay.
I do headshots. I do different pet photos if someone wants it with their pets, things like that. But I am launching soon a branding photography company separate from Jennifer Syl. So I will be doing both weddings and more corporate work too.
Okay, I love that. That seems to be something similar to just the direction that some of the photographers that I've met in this industry, even interviewed, that's the direction that they tend to go in. Talk to me about why you want to shift some focus and put some attention on the branding aspect of this business.
I think this stems back to my time in sales because I was in the corporate world for almost 10 years and I sold B2B. So I was working with businesses already and we were working on like employee retainment. I sold commercial furniture actually. So I would really like focus on the spaces, the colors, the environment. And it was more consultative. And I really love that. I'm a people person. I like to serve. I like to help people, hence like the bartending days. That always really stuck with me. So it's part of me that I still love and I love to care for. So it's just now that I have, you know, my wedding's more established, I can now start to build and cater to it as well. I always think that, you know, moving in small steps makes things more sustainable than trying to do everything at once.
And that's a really nice blending of your background with your passion for photography. So that's a really, I wish you so much luck with that.
Thank you. I'm excited.
When do you think that you'll be launching that?
Hopefully in August.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
We're working on the website now and
that's great.
I love weddings too, just as much though. Like I said, I just love being there to help people. Like that's my favorite part of the day outside of the photos. Like knowing I can carry your dress. I know your timeline. I can take care of the couple and they just feel that sense of relief is like my favorite part.
So you said a few things there that make me think of where does the photographer begin and end at an event in terms of the flow of things? Right? Because I've been at some events where there is no event coordinator or planner, and it seems like the photographer is kind of running the show. And maybe they didn't want to be running the show, but they are.
Yeah.
But then there are other events that I've worked where there's an event planner, they're clearly running the show, and then just kind of working collaboratively. And then I feel like sometimes I've seen it where there is a little bit of stepping on toes. How do you navigate that as a photographer, knowing what shots you need, almost like a playbook or a timeline of your own to get what you need to get done?
Just like I would even if they're not there. And also, so the event planner, starting with that aspect of it, they're working with their client from the moment they're usually hired. It depends on what tier they're hired at. But so I always ask my couples, are you working with an event planner? Rather than going to my couples and double asking them what they've already worked on, I then connect with the planner at least 60 days out from the wedding. And let them know I'm here. I want to know everything you talked about. I want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what their like priorities are, what they're into. So that way on the day of, like, we're on the same page. And I love that because if we're working together, it makes everything move so smoothly. So I'm a big team player. So I always let planners know, like, what do you need from me and my team? Here's who they are. Here's where we'll be. Here's our timeline. What's yours? Okay, maybe we can bump this a little, or this looks great. And we really like even hop on a call without the couple there and do a timeline review and then even bring them in. So that way we're prepared for them, which is great. Yeah.
Have you encountered situations where there is no planner, but you're there as the photographer and folks are looking to you to have a timeline and kind of almost facilitate how things are supposed to unfold for that event?
Always.
Okay.
And I always joke, I'm like, if you're the type A couple, then I'm the photographer for you. Like, never be afraid to bring me your PowerPoint or your spreadsheet. I love it. I'm type A. So I'm like, okay, great. This is what we're going to learn. When I go through their questionnaire, so they'll get a questionnaire from me instead of a planner. If they don't have one, I take at least 2 hours to write out their timeline. And I put in details. I'm like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. And we go through a shared Google Doc and we review it. And after the end of the call, they know like their phone doesn't need to be on them. I'm going to carry them through the day. And it's my background the whole day, everything. This
kind of reminds me because I do event decor. So sometimes I find folks know exactly what they want. They have a clear vision in terms of the aesthetic, or it's something as simple as I don't really need to know what their aesthetic is because they just want to rent this particular couch and chair and table. And that's it. That's where my role begins and ends. There are other times where I need to know what it is they're thinking about and what their vibe is
Yeah.
because they need help putting together, let's say, a lounge or a backdrop. But then, you know, you have folks who also want you to take it a step further and almost style their event.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes it's a fine line because I'm not an event stylist, but at the same time, I find myself with folks that don't know exactly what they want, helping them. It is a little bit of styling. And so sometimes just the line, I think, in terms of the roles that we play and the services we provide, sometimes it gets a little bit muddy. At least it does for me.
Yeah. No. And I like service is everything, client experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all creatives for a reason, and that's why we're in this industry and have our talents. So everybody has a creative craft, but to be able to service and give the experience on top of that, I think that really sets vendors apart. Mm-hmm. So my clients, like, I might not answer if it's a Sunday at 8:00 at night because that's my time off, but they have my cell phone number. We have shared inspo boards from the moment they book with me. They know they can message me anything they like, and I literally save it to the day of, and I add my team to it. We have like mood boards going out. So like, it's definitely more than what you would typically get, I guess you could say, but we're so invested that like, I don't know how to turn that off necessarily. Yeah.
And the service you're providing is such a huge component of their day. I mean, their photographs are
forever.
It's everything, and it's forever. So I can understand you having clients reach out to you, just being accessible, and spending the time with them to make sure that you get their vision and their wants very clear before you go in there. That makes total sense.
And it also instills like a trust because a lot of them, most people haven't done it before, and there's no like play-by-play book. So there's a lot of things that you're learning as you go. And I'm like, as someone who was married in 2023, I'm like, these are the things I learned outside of photography, and like try to just help because it's stressful.
Right. Yeah. And that's what sets you apart from, let's say, other vendors who maybe aren't that thorough or aren't working as closely with their clients, which is, that's a good thing. You talked about the customer client experience. As a business owner, what are some customer service tips that you would give to other women, maybe, you know, wanting to get into this industry in general, or even photography, if you want to make it specific to that?
Trying to stay organized, or at least like, even if you're busy, just say, hey, I saw your message. It's received. I'm going to get back to you. Just letting people know, like, I got it, or I'm doing this real quick. I should have it to you by this date. So it's like saying like, maybe you'll have it in 3 weeks, but then it shows up in 2 and you build in that cushion for yourself. It's not that you're overworking yourself. It's just setting the expectations, and also just communication is so big and important to people. And I feel like that really falls off. Like, people just want to be heard and know that you're paying attention.
That instant communication.
Yes.
Right? Folks reach out to you. They are expecting, just because we live in such a digital age.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're just very used to that instant gratification in everything that we do because of the technology that we use. They are expecting a response from you fairly quickly. Yeah.
And even if it's as simple as like, message is received, I'm coming back. Like, it doesn't have to take your attention at that point in time. Like, I think that is like my biggest advice. And then I always say this, if you're going to start a business, have a good CPA. My poor CPA, man, he's like, I just contact him all the time, but like, I couldn't get through it without my CPAs, and they're there to give you business advice, not just do your taxes. So that's always my number one tip of advice too.
That's a great piece of advice. Yeah. Talk to me about your style. I know that every photographer, because it's an art, you have a style, you have an aesthetic in how you shoot and how you edit. Talk to me about yours.
Yeah. So, I definitely, people would say I lean on the moodier side. I think that's because I have a higher contrast. Like, I really like my whites to be white and my blacks to be black. And I try my best. It doesn't always happen exactly, but I really like to pull up like the original raw image when I'm editing and try to color match as close as I can to what's going on. So when it comes to that, it's not just in post. I am very particular about how I capture my photos. So a lot of people that work with me get a guide beforehand. Some people think it's, again, I'm type A. But I care a lot for my clients.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we're consistent. So I send them a guide on how I shoot because I learned I shoot a little different than most photographers, at least from who I've worked with and experienced. So I am very particular about, if we're shooting this scenario, I want us to capture it in a certain shutter speed so it's not, blurry at all, or it's, they're walking fast, like down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that ahead of time, I try to keep us consistent so that my post editing can be as close as I need it to be to my style.
I love your style.
Thank you.
I have to say.
Thank you.
When we met that day, you had a monitor. And so I was able to see some of your photos just as we were, standing around at the expo chit-chatting. And I just fell in love. And then once I started following you, it's amazing. The colors are so rich and so bold sometimes that it blows me away. So I love it.
Thank you. It's hard to not fall into like imposter syndrome because a lot of people edit alike.
The poses are very different than other photographers that I've seen that perhaps have, we're saying moody. I don't know if that's the right term for your stuff.
I don't either.
I don't know.
Everyone says it to me and I'm like, I know what you're talking about, but then I see like actual dark and moody and I'm like, no, that's,
it isn't. There is a difference.
It's not giving Vampire Diaries.
No. It's very posh. It's very elevated. It's just, it's luxe. That's just the way I describe it. But the poses are very different. And the things that you capture at the event space, it's very different than your typical.
Thank you.
So I think that for me makes you stand out.
Thank you. I think I have a lot of my fine art degree to attribute to that because like I always say to people, I'm like, okay, everyone has, their wedding photos throughout their house, but where do you go get your fine artwork? And like maybe it's a wedding photo, but it's, a white glove pouring a nice glass of champagne into crystal. And it's like, you see the droplets. That reminds you of your wedding, but no one needs to know that's a wedding photo. It just looks like a piece of artwork in your home. So I always tell my clients, like, you get a blended gallery approach like that. And we're always looking for like those little moments. And
sometimes you capture the architecture or even simple things. Like you had this one photo and it was a brass rail of the bar. I just thought, wow, that's a moment from that couple's wedding that, like you said, is not something you typically would see necessarily in their album, but they know. In all honesty, it's something they might not have even realized on that day because they're so busy, but to be able to look back at that and go, wow, look at how cool this was where we had our wedding. So some of those photos that I see you post, very different in the subjects that you choose.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, we strive for that.
I love it. So how many people do you have working with you?
Technically, everyone is part-time.
Okay.
But I have 3 women mainly. So I have Jenna, who's usually my second shooter. If she's booked, then I ask elsewhere. Okay. I even trust her to the point where she'll associate weddings for me. We've worked together for 3 years. She worked a wedding for me the other day and I didn't even have to think about texting her. Like I trust her fully. She's amazing. And then day of assistant, this wonderful woman, Jacqueline. And then I have my virtual assistant, Abby. Okay. So yeah.
A virtual assistant.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So Abby runs my Pinterest for me, just helps me out. There's certain things that there's just not enough hours in the day. So Abby really helps me with like my Pinterest, creating, like getting blogs started for me. And then we can work on that, creating different marketing things. So just stuff I don't have time for.
That's great. That level of trust, turning over aspects of your business. When I hear you talk about shooting a wedding, I am full of anxiety. Not that we don't provide decor for weddings, but like I said, it's usually we're looking for this lounge setup or, maybe a backdrop. I can do it and go. It looks fine. It's up. It's structurally sound. And the rest that's what I leave up to folks like you, right? The rest of the day, all the nitty gritty stuff. The idea of having to capture someone's most precious moments and not being able to have a redo, that gives me anxiety. I don't know how caterers, photographers, even the event planners to make sure everything is still going smoothly throughout the entire, I don't know how you do it.
I feel like we thrive off of it.
Okay.
And I know that's crazy.
And I hear people say that.
Yeah, I feel like we do. And like that stems like to the server in me, like working I seriously think that the greatest job you can ever work is in the restaurant industry, and it teaches you so much and like how to work with so many people. I just love being able to be there and help them and like know like working in a fast-paced environment, it works well for me.
Yeah.
Also, I'm really, and I think I get this actually from my past sales job, which I'm so glad I did take that break because I don't think I'd be as strong of a business owner if I didn't take the 10 years in sales. But it really taught me how to pivot and like to look like if something's going wrong, we're not just going to address it to the client. We're going to look at like plan B and C and D and pivot and then say, here are our options. And I think that's really helps my anxiety is knowing like we don't panic. We just see how we can help them.
That word pivot is integral in this industry because things do go wrong.
They do.
Sometimes it's something that you can control. Sometimes it's something that you can't control, but you're there to try to help put out the fire and fix it.
Knowing and just being transparent. Like I was working a wedding when I first started by myself. It actually happened even with a second shooter before where my camera froze and they were exchanging rings. And I just simply afterwards put them and the officiant back up at the front and just was like, we're just going to, for the photo, recapture this because I don't want you to look back on your album and not have the image.
Right.
Sometimes it's just being human and saying, look, this happened. Let's just take a moment. And they're just so understanding and nice about it.
Yeah. I find that the clients more often, and I mean, you're in the wedding industry. I mean, you're entrenched in it and you always hear about bridezillas and the awfulness. I really haven't experienced that. Most of the clients are extremely nice and they're extremely warm. I think the fact that we make ourselves accessible to our clients to the point where they text us and, you know, we're having conversations on the phone. There's that trust, to use that word, right? That rapport. They already feel comfortable with you and almost like you're a friend and they know you. Yeah. When event day comes, that if there is a little bit of a snafu, they trust that you're going to handle it. Yes. And they don't snap. You're not a stranger. You know?
Exactly.
And you're less likely to be mean or angry with someone that you're friendly with.
Yes. We're there for you. Like I've had brides call me and we talk and we're not even talking about photos and we'll be on the phone. I'm just like, just let it out. Who's annoying you? Like, what's going on with your wedding? Like, and it changes everything. It really does. And then if things do go awry, they're like, they got it. Yeah. Like they got me. They know what I care about.
Speaking of talking with folks who are getting married, what are some of their frustrations and complaints?
I think it stems back to communication. Where it's like day of, they didn't realize they can't be at their venue until a certain hour. And it sounded like they could be. Or they didn't realize that they had to set up and break down or be out by a certain time. Not blaming this all on venues, but I'm saying like, I think it really stems down to that's their biggest thing. It's just if they knew, then they could have come up with a game plan.
Would you recommend having a coordinator or planner of some sort for your wedding?
1000%. And I understand it's a luxury and weddings are expensive. Yeah. So it's no shame to anyone who like can't budget that and they have other priorities. Sure. However, I really think that venues need to change the name of an event coordinator to an event associate or venue associate because I think it really blurs the lines. These people are here to make sure that the vendors know where to go on the day of, that tables and everything, that everybody just has their place. They are not there to carry you through your day. Right. They don't. I've maybe seen it at 1 or 2 venues where they do. So it's very confusing because I always have couples all the time be like, well, it comes with the venue. Right. And then even day of coordination, there is a difference between that and a planner too. But I do think having somebody there to say, here's all the things you brought in. I'm going to go to, you should not be setting stuff up on your wedding day. People should know exactly where they're going, already have this before they even get to you that day. So yeah, I really think it takes people out of the present moment if they don't have someone to carry them through it.
A couple of quirky questions.
Yeah.
If you could be doing anything else besides what you're doing now, what would it be?
Not have a career.
Okay.
But doesn't everyone want that? I mean, I love working though. Don't get me wrong. I'd be bored. I'd probably just be an artist somewhere. Okay. Just enjoying life.
All right.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that you still have a pottery wheel. Do you use it actively?
It's been a minute because we were redoing our basement and it's just been like a lot of storage down there. But yeah, I plan on it soon.
All right. And so what do you think might be the first thing that you make? Something for your new basement maybe?
Oh yeah, probably like a vase or something. Okay. Yeah.
Talk to me about marketing.
Okay.
I know that this is something that I struggle with. What are some marketing tips or things that you have learned over the years in terms of what works and what doesn't?
Don't put all your eggs into one basket. That's my biggest thing. So like anyone can spend hours and hours just posting to Instagram. But if that's your only funnel, then you're cutting off a bunch of other avenues that could come in. So hence, like, I don't really get leads from Pinterest, but that's why I delegate that to Abby to help me with my Pinterest. And then I really think like the best marketing you can do is still referrals. I think people want to do business with people, especially in this industry. And especially like when it comes to planners or caterers or venues, like they want to know that they have someone there that's going to respect their space and be a team player. Yeah. So I was really Instagram heavy and I felt like my wheels were getting stuck. And then I, was like, I need to be doing more things. So really tried to focus on different avenues.
So what are some of those things besides Pinterest?
So I also do TikTok. That's fun. I enjoy TikTok. I'm not really on Facebook. I did run Facebook ads and Google ads, and that helped me get myself off the ground. So I'm not ashamed of like paying to do those things because I have booked a lot of weddings through that. And now my biggest push is like getting in with different other vendors and trying to build that network and just reaching out like, how can I help you as a photographer, even outside of a wedding? Like, do you have something coming up? I think I talked to you about that too when we first met. Like if there's anything you want photographed, just like how can I share to help your business too? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to talk to you about this network, right? That you're amassing, and because you work well with certain vendors and then you wind up getting referred for, they want to work with you. So you get referred for another job. Who are some of the vendors that you've worked with that you've really enjoyed working with them? We don't have to talk about the ones you don't, but the ones that you just feel like you'd like to shout out and take the opportunity to say, wow, these are great vendors and I would love to work with them again.
Oh, absolutely. My girls at the Other Side Creatives, Anna and Jordan, they're fantastic.
What do they do?
They're planners. They're out of Baltimore. They're so fun to work with and they're super creative and just like extremely dedicated to their clients. I absolutely love the team at Chess Cafe. I've had an amazing experience every time I work at Chess Cafe. They do a great job and really an elevated service for their clients. I could go on and on. I love all my friends I've been making. Certain DJs, like there's certain ones that just bring the energy more than others, which is really fun, or bands. I worked with a band recently. So yeah, it's definitely tough to like, I could write a whole roster of people that I just love working with.
Have you worked with Gemma at Loved Up?
Not
DJs?
yet.
Yeah,
I want
great.
to. Everybody loves her.
Yeah, she is great.
Yes.
I interviewed her last season, and the thing that I liked about her is that she started this business and then eventually her husband came on board, and then now she's got other DJs that work under her. Usually DJing is such a male-dominated facet of the events industry, so the fact that she was a woman, I thought that was cool.
I actually am like in a few photography friend chats where it's like 10 to 20 photographers and we help each other. And her name comes up often because people are like, we're looking for a female DJ.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah, she's great. So tell me about your ideal gig. Your ideal shoot. Is that a wedding? Is it branding? Like, what does that look like for you?
So I'm going to answer both. Okay. For a wedding, I had a wedding the other day and it's just like, and I don't, couples, it's your day. So I'm always the one, I'm like, if you're tired of photos, we'll go into candid mode and you just go enjoy your party. But the other day I had this wedding and it almost felt like it was like a styled shoot. Like we got to do all the poses. Okay. And it was so fun. And they were just like running about, high energy, having a blast. I'm like, do you guys want to go do this? And they were like, yeah. And like sprinted over to the window. The bride was laying backwards on a grand piano at one point. Like just like the yes mentality from the couple is so fun, and the full trust. Like we will do like whatever your creative vision is. So I definitely think that for weddings. Okay. And then it kind of same thing when it comes to branding. Like, let's get funky, let's get creative with it, like, but still have it be true to you. But in a sense, that sets you apart because that's the whole fun to it. Like, why make it copy paste?
Right. How about some of your favorite venues that you've shot at?
Oh, this is tough.
Well, you mentioned Chess Cafe, and I know that they have a ton of different expanded so much.
They're beautiful. Like I love the older, like intricate architecture.
Yeah.
Vault 634 too in Allentown.
I don't know.
Oh, you would die over it. It is gorgeous, like chandeliers, beautiful stained glass ceiling. It's right up your alley, Anne. Yeah. Okay. So I love really like intricate venues with character. Estates are beautiful like that.
Tell me about some catastrophe that happened and how did you recover?
So before I went full-time with photography, after college, when I was starting sales and doing preschool picture day photography, I was doing weddings then, and then I like stopped everything. And I convinced this venue to let me work without insurance, which I have insurance now. I have everything. But I rented a lens and I didn't pay for insurance on that either. And the bride went to throw her bouquet. So I sprinted to get the lens I rented. As I sprinted, she's up there. I switch it out. I threw the lens bag on the table, not looking. I slipped on a piece of cake, hit the lens on a chair. She's going to throw it. I looked down. The lens bag caught on fire because it landed on a teacup candle. So I put it out with my hand. It was like smoking. I just started going like this. And then I looked through the lens and it's blurry. And I looked down and it's shattered from when it hit on the chair. And it turns out, thank God, they had a lens filter, like a piece of protective glass on it. Okay. But I just drove home in silence and told my now husband, I was like, we didn't make any money. Yeah. Because he used to work for me because I couldn't afford to hire people. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I think we owe like $5,000 for this lens. Oh my God. Yeah. And I told him the whole scenario. He was like, what in the world?
That doesn't even sound real.
It was terrible.
That is insane.
Yeah. It all happened in like 2 minutes. And it's so funny because the bride, her younger brother hired me in 2024 for his wedding. And I told her the story then finally at that wedding. And she's like, are you kidding me? I was like, yeah, I didn't want to tell you that day. But this all happened.
Oh my gosh. You weren't working the wedding for free. You just didn't have the insurance, right? So I'm sure your pricing...
Oh, my pricing was next to nothing at the time. Right? So
yes. You almost get what you paid for.
It was basically free. Yeah. Like I couldn't afford insurance. That's why we didn't have it. Like I was about to take out a loan for that lens.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. That definitely like set the bar.
Yeah. Sometimes when I get on social media and I see other folks talking about their disasters or their mishaps, sometimes they're not disasters. It's not that drastic. And just being able to kind of laugh about it and knowing, hey, this is something that's happening across the board because
oh my gosh, yeah.
You try to be perfect, but it's not always. And then you also think about the events that did go perfectly.
Yeah.
Right? So why focus on the one that didn't when you just did 3 other events within the last week or two that went off without a hitch.
Yes.
So that's what gets me through it. But I do feel like we all have those moments where like, I don't know if this is the right fit.
Yeah. Or you're
tough.
Like, people are emotional today. Like they're going to find a reason to blame you. Yep.
When you're posting, would you say Instagram? I know that you said at one time you were posting on Instagram a lot and kind of using that as your main mode of marketing. When you are posting on Instagram as a photographer, how are you balancing the showcasing your actual still photos with video, right? And reels, because I know that they tend to get a lot of engagement, the videos.
Yeah.
And in your field, you know, your industry here, it's about the shot. So how do you kind of marry those two so that you're doing both?
I'm really, it's tough. I'm trying to find that balance. So it's more so like I realize with reels, try to take it, I guess, like what people would just grab their attention and it might not be educating or it might be educating on photos, but it's not photo based. Okay. If that makes sense. So maybe I take it and it's a way that people learn about me or they see an idea they can have on a wedding day. And then it hopefully leads to engagement with the photos. Okay. But I found that those reels are stronger than like a montage of images. Gotcha. So it is tough. Yeah. And like picking out what to piece together from a wedding day or record or...
It's a struggle.
And I'm terrible at remembering to pull my phone out and take video.
I can't tell you how many times
I've
gotten in the car
And you forget.
Post setup, and I didn't get one single photo or video of
Yeah.
anything that I just did. Sometimes you get lucky because, other vendors are there and they'll tag you, and so you're able to kind of get some footage that way, or the client. But I mean, it's their day, especially at a wedding. They don't have their phones out. Sometimes you never get any shots of what you did. It's like it didn't even happen.
Yes. Do you not always get the gallery from the photographers either?
They're usually very good about that.
Okay, good.
I honestly have not had any issues with that.
Amazing.
I don't always do weddings.
That's true.
There is a photographer.
True.
I mean, there's birthday parties. There are a lot of corporate events, which sometimes I don't even know who the photographer is. Unless I happen to see the company that we did something for tagged. And I'm like, oh, that's my stuff right there in that.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes I will reach out. I'm not afraid to do that. I will reach out to the photographer and I will ask, or the videographer, if they've hired like a whole production team. Hey, that was our stuff featured. Do you have that footage, or do you mind if I use that?
That's
and
nice.
Everybody is usually very sweet.
That's nice
about that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is painful when you get in the car and you took not one photo or video of anything.
Yeah.
To show for the work that you just did.
Yes. Completely.
Tell me about an ideal client that you'd like to work for. It can be a celebrity. It could be someone in the fashion industry that you would love to photograph, or photograph an event that they were having.
Dan Levy. I love Dan Levy. Just so classy, so fashion forward.
Yeah.
And like also in a time, like he can get funky with his stuff, but it's also like, I always relate it back to like interior design and stuff. Like I feel like he would be someone in Architectural Digest where it's like their personality flair. Dan Levy, I just think would be fabulous to work with, and so fun and just so kind.
I can see that.
Instantly.
Okay. So what would you say are some business don'ts?
Overall, stop bashing your clients on the internet. I am so sick of it. I can't. There was times when I was a bride and I saw vendors talking like, can't stand when clients do this, or...
And you're like, that's me. Are they talking about me?
You self-reflect, even if it's not about you or something you've done. You're just like, oh, wow, now I feel like I have to walk on eggshells or things like that. Stop bashing your clients on the internet. I'm sorry. I'm not one here to get upset if someone ghosts me. I'm not. You're busy. You're working a full-time job and planning a wedding, which is like a full-time job. You don't have time to answer everybody. Yeah. So yeah, that's my biggest thing. Just stop. Put it out to your friends in a text message. Huge pet peeve. And also to flip it, clients, stop making TikToks bashing your vendors when you could have unless it's like really, really bad and you've had conversations and you need to get it out there and they absolutely destroyed you. Like if it's something like, I saw one girl like removing her makeup from her makeup artist, like, and redoing it. I'm like, that didn't need to be posted. Things like that. So it goes both ways. It's like, let's just treat each other with some kindness and communicate. Don't try to fall into the same box as everyone else. I think it's important to see what inspires you, and it doesn't need to be from photographs or weddings. Like if it's a certain print, if it's a certain movie, if it's a certain song, like lead into those things. I've seen a lot of copy paste, and I think it sets you aside, and that's what people are going to book you for.
Okay. What is your stance on pricing? I know that when we start out, as we've already touched on, you're desperate for the work.
Oh, yeah.
You're desperate to build that portfolio to actually have something to show on your socials or content for your website. Once you get to the point where you are established, how do you figure out this is my worth and I'm going to stand on this?
I think I really hit a breaking point last year where I had to make a drastic change in my pricing because I was overbooked, like working 7 days a week, 10-hour days. So it was like that line of I physically can't do this and it's my well-being and I might have to go back to corporate. So it was that line of like, what's my sweet spot and where can I do it and still enjoy my life? Like so many people I think look at, photography and they're like, you want what for one day? It's not one day. No. It's weeks of work. So
it's also a high pressure situation. I just keep going back to that. I know you thrive and your team.
But it is.
But it's a high pressure situation.
Even if you thrive, you're still stressed.
High stakes.
Yeah. It's still a lot. Like I'm exhausted the next day. I only work one wedding a weekend because it's not fair to my client the next day to have me so drained. Yeah. And with pricing, you know, I'm not at exactly like I'm happy and established with where I'm at, but eventually, you know, I would like to move into even higher so I can even give a better experience to my clients, because that way I am fully yours. Like I could almost be like your right-hand bestie throughout this whole process if I have less on my plate and things like that. But yeah, I got to a point where I physically couldn't take on more work and I was living off of credit cards.
Yeah.
So it was like, what do you do?
Sure.
So I don't know if that fully answered it, but that's...
It does. You know, the lower your prices are, the more events you have to do.
To work a normal amount of hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm still working over more than 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
or sacrificing my weekends when I can be with friends and family because they don't have off on weekends.
Right.
So it's like, where does that price point equal out to your time, which is priceless, and not taking 2 weddings a weekend so I can give you my full energy and mind power.
Absolutely.
Versus having to take 2 for the same price point.
Exactly.
And not rushing editing.
Yeah.
So
How long would you, so tell me, because I know it takes a while, and I know it's a painstaking process, and it's an art. How long does it actually take you?
So if I have my like right-hand team and we shoot together the right way, I'd say like an 8-hour wedding, anywhere from like uploading to going through the images is about a week.
This is multiple. This is not just your SD card, right? This
No.
is the other folks that are working the wedding with you. So this is 3 or 4 different SD cards.
Several thousand images per wedding.
Wow.
I take my time. Like I take probably like a day to 2 days, and some people are going to listen to this and be like, what is wrong with her? But I touch every photo and make sure I didn't miss one.
Okay.
So I'm looking at all your images and zooming in, making sure like if you have a wedding party of 16, I'm trying to make sure no one's eyes are closed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah, so just taking that time and really going through it, where I've heard other photographers like, oh, I take an hour to go through the images. And I'm like, I don't understand how. Or if you have a blemish, I'm editing it out of every photo that I remember. Again, type A. I'm like, no.
I know there's a real push for, capturing someone the way that they look.
But it's your wedding day. No one wants their pimple that showed up.
No, yeah, I'm totally, just please.
They're not in it. They weren't on the guest list.
I'll still look the way that I look, right?
Yeah.
Just airbrush that.
They weren't on the guest list.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. But it can like be anywhere. Like I'd say average, like you could look at anywhere from like 30 to 40 hours post.
That's a lot.
And not including all your meetings leading up to it, the 2-hour timeline creation, then an hour call just to go over your timeline, our consult call of an hour. If you have an engagement session, if your package included an album, and then we're designing an album for you, organizing the photos into your gallery. That's another thing. Like having a second photographer, we sync our times on our cameras, but they're still happening. So like I'll have a groom pop up at the same time I was taking the bride's photos. Yeah. So then I'm dragging and dropping and making sure that those are all in order.
Yeah, that is a lot. And that's why the price point is where it is. Yeah. I mean, I experienced that.
Exactly.
My biggest thing is delivery. I post all of the prices of my items on my website. And I feel like that's actually, I know that when I started out, I didn't do that because I saw that other more higher end event rental companies did not do that. And I thought, well, that must communicate some kind of poshness or elevation. So I'm not going to do that. It was a nightmare because I had people doing, putting in a request for whatever, a couch and 2 chairs. And I'm wasting my time responding on that when I could have just posted that information on my site. And now they already know.
Yeah.
And if they do want to actually move forward and book or find out what the delivery is, we're a little bit closer to actually sealing that deal and them going through. If they weren't interested, they wouldn't even go through the process.
Exactly.
So I posted the prices, but the delivery is what folks always wind up balking at because I don't think that they have an understanding of you have to drive there, then you have to drive home, then you have to drive there again, then you have to drive
rent
home again.
A truck if you don't
Rent
have
a truck
one.
Sometimes, depending on how big the order is.
Yeah.
Just the amount of miles and the time. People don't realize it's 4 trips.
Extra insurance.
Yeah. It's just wild. The labor that's involved.
Yeah.
To lift and carry. And, sometimes they want things upstairs and, I mean, we're providing this service, but it's a service and it's something that you have to pay for. I will offer on certain items If you want to come and pick up a couch from me, feel free. And you can totally save on the delivery. But if you're looking for me to basically furnish an entire room in a venue for you, that's going to take a lot of labor and time and truck and driving. There's a cost for that.
Exactly.
Right? And that's why it's a service and you can either choose to pay for it or not.
Yep. And I'm always so torn on like, I go back and forth posting my starting prices or average prices and then not, because it's also like such a conversation too. Yeah. Whereas like you might see it and just instantly walk away. Whereas like we can talk about everything. I can't explain to you the value and service that you're going to get with Jennifer Syl Photography's team through my website. Yeah. So I go back and forth because some people are like, I don't consider people without a price. And then other people are like, no, let's at least look at it. It's tough.
I could see that, especially for, what it is that you do. What apps are you using?
I love the Preview app. I don't pay for Preview. I use the free version.
What is it?
It's where I can organize my grid for Instagram. And I know there's like multiple apps like this. Okay. And I think you could even do it through the business suite. I just use Preview, but that's probably like my most used app. Okay. Yeah. Just so I can see like how I'm flowing on my feed and how things look together. And like, I realized like I was getting like almost paralysis with my posting because you get overwhelmed or burn out from it. So whenever I'm feeling like inspired to post, I actually go on there and see how it looks as a big grid. And then that gets me excited to then like build out those little posts. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So we talked about what's next for you, which is you are launching a branding component of your business and you're hoping to have that launched end of summer. Is there anything else that you have on the horizon or maybe just some goals 5 years out? What does this look like for you?
The other company I'm launching is going to be called House of Syl, Haus. With that too, outside of branding, I also want to sell fine art prints. Okay. So that way people like, there's going to be like a Shopify on there. So you can like order wall art for your home from different photography I've taken. So that's like a current goal for those two. It's going to be like a hybrid. And then eventually I'd love to move into education and mentoring for people just because I really like to help people a lot. Yeah.
All right. So I want to circle back to the question that I asked you at the beginning about a signature cocktail or mocktail that embodies who you are and just the vibe of your business. What would that be?
Dirty martini. An extra dirty martini.
Okay.
Yes. I think they're elevated, rich in flavor. They're a specific taste for sure, which like I know like my style might not be for everybody. That's okay. But also they're fun. Like you can have a good night out, a good time. Yeah. I love to have fun and also just like really enjoy things and sipping this and just nicer things while having a blast.
All right, so remind everyone how they can reach out to you if they're interested in following you. Please go do that or booking you.
Yeah. So again, all my socials are the same. Jennifer Syl Photo, and that's SYL. JenniferSylPhoto.com as well. Come check it out and reach out. Let's be friends. I like to talk to people and I appreciate being here. Thank you, Anne.
I'm so glad that you sat down with me and I hope that we get to work together.
Me too. Book us together, somebody.
Yeah, I would love that. So I like to end the podcast with a toast and we have martinis, so it's really fitting. So what shall we drink to? How about a successful launch of your two business ventures
the end
of summer?
Perfect.
Okay.
And to working together.
Yes, I would love that. Cheers.